who was this Lowenstein guy?
Lowenstein
and why did he choose Rock Hill? What was the pitch?
Well, he chose it, but he had a guy named Archie Josslyn, Josslyn Point. It was Josslyn Park. If you ask contemporaries in your and Chip's age group, that was a big public park out at Lake Wylie, the river. But Lowenstein manufactured all over the world. He had about 10 or 12 plants, and Rock Hill ended up being the largest producer of row print American flags in the U.S. And it printed a lot of fabrics. In fact, Derek Close bought the fabrics, and he's got over 500,000 samples of fabrics that were produced through the row print machines. And we're honoring that in a small way with a little area out in front of the Rock Hill Sports and Event Center with some of the machines, a couple parts of the machines just for artwork and all. But everybody worked there. And the family members worked there, and it was an honor to work there. A lot of the old Rock Hill names were managers. Bill Easley's dad, Joe Easley, was the longest-serving employee. He was the first employee, longest-serving employee, and he was assistant plant manager. And we're naming the apartments after Joe Easley.
That's cool.
They are called the Easley.
Gary, you rattle off these names so easily. You rattle off the history just off the top of your head. Why and when did you start getting so into the history of Rock Hill?
I think Chip and Pat Grant got me very interested.
We can blame them, huh?
Yeah.
And I can blame him too. I mean, it's been fun.
Well, you got to know where you've come from to know where you're headed. Mm-hmm. And you realize it has been a strong community for a long time. And, this doing away with bad memories of the past, I think is wrong. And now they need to be in the right place. Statues and memorials and everything need to be in the right place. But we need to remember the mistakes of the past. We need to remember the Holocaust to make sure the world doesn't let that happen again. We need to remember why World War I started, why World War II started. Those things are important because you learn from the mistakes and you move ahead. I mean, every day we have life experiences. Sometimes when I'm interacting with David and my son and something will happen is, sort of like, how'd you know that? And because I've stuck my hand in the cage and that dog's bit me a few times. So we learn from our past experiences.
What have you learned from the past of Rock Hill?
That it's a solid community that you keep building, you keep regenerating. That land originally was built buggies, then it built cars, then it was a manufacturing plant for a long time. And now it's going to be the center of entertainment, work, play type, live environment. And is that good for future years? 50 years? What will it be good for? I don't know. I won't be here. And you got to keep rebuilding a town. I mean, those buildings downtown, we saw pictures recently. Most of those buildings are 120, 30 years old. But if you look, none of them have their original tenants in them. And so you keep reoccupying. I mean, this building here didn't start out as a law office. Mm-hmm. And so you keep regenerating and building to the future. I mean, that's an important part of anybody's DNA. It should be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good lesson. And if you do look at the history of Rock Hill, that's definitely what stands out is, the ability and the capacity to kind of accept that risk and be bold and say, what's the next thing? And let's just do it, see what happens, and hope for the best. Of course, plan accordingly. But if you look at, like the textiles that you mentioned, and we've done talking to Stephen, he told us a lot about how, in his position, they really tried hard to intentionally diversify the economy of Rock Hill so that we wouldn't necessarily be beholden. It was great at the time because it employed so many people that, as you mentioned, were otherwise unemployed. But when an entire town is dependent upon one business or industry to support it, the economic winds change just a little bit, and then the entire town can suffer the consequences. So, it's very cool to see people in this community take that lesson to heart and really do something cool with it.